Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus-Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus-Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We're glad that you all could be with us. Also, those tuning in through our online affiliates, including our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. Glad you all could join us as well. I'm excited to welcome Chris Vliet to his first appearance on Conversations Live. He's not only an Emmy Award-winning media personality, but an entrepreneur who's been able to do work that he loves and to be able to share his passion with others. We'll talk to him about the journey, what it's been like for him to reflect on his success, and, of course, let you guys know what to expect from him coming up this year. Chris, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on, Cyrus.
Well, this was a lot of fun prepping for your segment, Chris, because you have been able to do a lot of things that people just dream about, and I think that's one of the cool things about following your passion. What has it been like for you, Chris, to kind of reflect on this journey and what led you to where you are today?
I think it really all started for me like when I was really young. Like I was 4 years old. I had a Fisher-Price tape recorder and would pretend to be the radio host that I heard on air. So if I was growing up now, Cyrus, I would have been pretending to be you with my, Fisher-Price tape recorder. And I just had such a passion for broadcasting. And when I grew up, I had this epiphany when I was in college where I basically went, I don't want to hate my job. I don't want to be one of those people who can't appreciate Sunday because Monday's the next day. So I did everything in my power, reached out to every radio station, every TV station in my college town, and just basically said, I'm passionate about broadcasting. Can I just come in and see how it's done in the real world? And I've been so fortunate, Cyrus, to my whole career, just be excited for what I'm going to do every day. And then at the end of every day, be able to reflect, like you said, and look back and go, man, I'm really pumped for what I did today.
Yeah, and I think that's the cool thing. I want to definitely encourage our audience, if you guys are not following Chris, especially on YouTube, you guys can watch a lot of the great interviews he's done there. And I love the fact, even in looking at your reel that I saw there, Chris, that, to kind of just look at the different types of individuals you've been able to help share their story. Have you always been a naturally curious person?
Yeah, definitely. I've always had that curiosity, and I've been the kid who, the annoying kid, I should say, who would just ask why. Well, why is that? Well, why'd you do it that way? Or what's the reason behind that? And I think that just as a journalist, you're just naturally curious, and that curiosity really leads to some great moments. So I had this kind of theory when I started my broadcasting career that if I asked a question where I was trying to evoke a certain moment or a certain emotion and it didn't go well, we weren't live, so if it didn't go well, the only people that would know about it were me and that person in that room, and, it would go on the cutting room floor. But if it did go really well, you could have this viral moment that, would be seen all over the internet. So I'm like, I'll swing for the fences. If you hit a home run, awesome. If you strike out, well, you can go up to bat again in a few innings.
We have to talk about courage and fear, Chris, especially when it comes to what you've been able to do, because I love the fact, again, you've been able to share the stage literally with, some individuals that many of us got to see on television and film. Of course, even in the ring, I see your passion even, when it comes to sports and wrestling has come through. What do you think kept you not only excited about it, but not letting fear stop you along the way?
I just started leaning into the things that I was scared of. And I think that was a really big turning point for me, because I think we all know those people who go, oh, well, I could never go skydiving. I could never go bungee jumping. I could never go out on the dance floor. And I would just say, well, maybe you should try it. And until you try it, maybe you find out that it is for you. So I just started leaning into the things that I was scared of. And if it wasn't for me, at least I could go, well, I tried it. It wasn't for me, but, I gave it a shot. And I think for me, that was a really big thing in my career, too, like asking the questions that other people maybe wouldn't have the courage to ask. What's the worst that could happen? And that was kind of the way that I started, living my life, asking that question of myself. What's the worst that could happen? And then just going from there.
And what about staying focused, Chris? What do you think has helped you in that? Because it's so easy when you're good at a lot of things as you are to say, you know what, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. What do you think has kind of helped you to stay focused and just really honing your craft throughout the years?
Well, the phrase that really rings true for me is vague goals get vague results. And I think it's important to be specific about the things that you're chasing after. Because if you're too broad about anything, you're not going to get really anything, accomplished. So I've been super specific about the things that I've been chasing after, whether that's each day, each week, or each month. And celebrating those little wins along the way. I think that it's important to have those huge goals, but also going, oh my gosh, look how far I've come in this last week, month, year, decade, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. Speaking of decade and talking about wins, but not so small, I mentioned you're a Emmy-winning media personality. What has that been like for you to reflect on the last decade in particular, Chris, in regards to that, to having your work recognized that way?
It was a huge honor. Even just to be nominated for an Emmy Award is a huge, huge honor. But, I was really fortunate to be able to win a few different Emmys. And when you work in television, that's the pinnacle. That's the peak of it. And to be recognized by your peers who basically say your work is, it's good and it should be recognized. It meant so much to me. And I remember going to the award ceremony, and I feel like I kind of blacked out. They named all the nominees, and then I was like, oh wait, they said my name. I was totally not expecting it. So it was a really cool moment, especially the fact that I was born and raised just outside of Toronto in a town called Pickering, Ontario. So I'm here in America, as an immigrant. I've been here now 11 years from Canada, and to be able to accomplish that was kind of that moment where I went, oh, okay, cool. I'm here to stay now. I belong here. And it felt like a really great moment.
Yeah, and I know it's something that so many people not only are proud of, but also encouraged by. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Chris Van Vliet to our program today. Chris is someone who's been able to do what he loves in media, but also as an entrepreneur as well. In talking about your passions, Chris, talk to us about that when it comes to entrepreneurship. You've been recognized not only, of course, in what you've been able to do in media, but also business. How did you decide what passion you wanted to try to turn more into a career for yourself?
And it sounds so crazy, to say it because, most of my career has been spent interviewing, some of the biggest stars in the world and on the red carpet and sharing those great stories. But the way that I've always kind of unwinded from that, it's so juxtaposed from the red carpet world, is I'm huge into bass fishing. And I've been bass fishing my whole life. And I fished a lot of bass tournaments beginning at age 14. So my fishing partner, Aaron Anders, and I kind of saw this opportunity in the fishing market to create our own company. So we created a tungsten weight company, which is an environmentally friendly style of fishing weight. Most people were using lead for years. We're using an alternative, which is tungsten. And when you catch a big fish, Cyrus, you yell out, woo, because you're so excited. So we called our company Woo Tungsten, and it's been so exciting to be able to take the passion that we have for bass fishing and to be able to share it with these products that we have.
Yeah. And I think even to be recognized with that, and I think too, I guess, and people can even tell it from this conversation with you, and I, again, noticed it even in watching you, doing the interviews you've done, Chris, is that you're very passionate about what you do, and that kind of adds into the drive you have. Is that one of the things you share with people? Because I'm sure you get the question all the time, how did you do it, or what advice do you have? How important have you found that passion plays in your success?
I think passion is the secret sauce of life. In whatever it is that you do, whether it's your personal life or your professional life, I think that if you sprinkle a whole bunch of passion into something, it takes something from being mediocre to that next level. Think about even just a relationship you had, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband or wife. Throw in some passion into that relationship, and all of a sudden things get taken to the next level. And I think that can certainly be applied to what you're doing in a professional aspect. And maybe you don't love your job, and I get that. There's a lot of people out there who aren't pumped to go to work. But what if you started to just throw a little bit of passion into what you were doing, throw a little bit of passion behind it? All of a sudden, that passion and some gratitude behind it completely changes your outlook on it.
So true. So do you find yourself, one of the struggles I've had, and I've shared it with my audience here, Chris, is that when you're so into what you do, as I think we both kind of are, but there's also the what's next. Like, okay, yes, this is great, but what's next? What else could I do?
Yeah.
How do you find the balance for yourself to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to appreciate what I've done, but also realize that your best days are still ahead of you?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Cyrus. And I start and end every day with gratitude. I just say out loud like 3 things that I'm grateful for that day. And I think that that's a really important thing to like kind of center you and go, oh, like no matter what I may have accomplished or may not have accomplished, I'm really grateful for what I have right now in front of me. But not unlike you, I'm always like striving for more. And I think it's important to have those huge, massive goals that you're striving towards. But like I mentioned before, it's important to celebrate those little wins along the way. Like you can have a goal that's 15 steps away and maybe you're at step number 2 right now, but it's important to celebrate getting to step number 3 and then 4 and then 5 all the way up there as you chase down that goal.
Yeah. And I think, again, that is such an important thing. Well, with that being said then, Chris, what are you looking forward to? It's hard to believe that we're already in the second quarter of 2021. What are you looking forward to this year that our audience should be on the lookout for?
Well, first of all, I'm looking forward to like getting back to like any sort of interaction where we can like be around other humans again, like I think that something we've really realized over this last year is that our greatest moments that we have are these shared experiences, whether they're birthday parties or weddings or concerts or sporting events. Like, I'm super excited about that. But I'm working on a few projects right now that you'll be seeing on TV in the next few months. But I also have a podcast called Insight with Chris Van Vliet, which is all about reverse engineering the habits and techniques of people who are at the very top of their game and figuring out how they got to where they're at. So wherever you listen to podcasts, you can check that out. And I've got 2 to 3 new interviews every single week on there.
Well, that's great, Chris, and I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to be able to talk. Again, everyone, Chris Van Vliet has been our guest. Chris, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you, especially with the podcast, and be able to look out for what's coming up?
Cyrus, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I'm at Chris Van Vliet, VanVliet, on all social media. So that's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. You can find me on there, and also chrisvanvliet.com.
Well, Chris, definitely invite our audience to stay connected. Looking forward to what's to come, Chris, and it goes without saying, you're welcome back here anytime. Looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you so much, Cyrus. Really appreciate you.
And the pleasure is definitely all mine, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus-Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.